Hey guys, Alex coming at you here. Just thought I'd do uh, another installment of the John Coltrane Memorial Series here. I think the way I want to kind of do these going forward is just kind of as I find these tracks, or if I revisit something and re-listen to something, I'll share it with you guys. I do have a list of these tracks that I want to share with you guys over time, but yeah. This is kind of one that I kind of recently discovered, and I really wanted to come on and share with you guys. The artist is Walt Dickerson, vibes player out of Philly, and really a guy that you just don't hear a lot about in the VC. In part because his discography is kind of unusual. He did a handful, maybe a half dozen records on the New Jazz label in the early 1960s. Worked with Andrew Hill. For my taste, those are fine recordings, but very kind of straight ahead, uh, post bop, whatever you want to call it, records. Usually in quartet type settings. And then Dickerson, after 1965, kind of disappears for 10 years. I did a little bit of digging. I finally found a really interesting long form interview that he did later on. He really doesn't offer, a very satisfying answer as to why he kind of disappeared for 10 years from like 65 through 75. Other than, he was clearly like many artists of that era, and jazz artists and forward-thinking artists like Dickerson, he I think felt pretty ostracized, in the U.S. Recording opportunities were becoming very difficult, for like I said, free and avant-garde, forward-thinking players. And so the rest of his recordings, which is from 75 through the early 80s, I think 82 is the last one, and this is another one of the last ones. This from 70, recorded in 78, released in 1981. Most of these recordings are on European labels, as was the case for a lot of these guys. So he's on the Steeplechase label, um, out of Denmark. And he also did some stuff on Soul Note out of Italy. And so of those 12 recordings that he did later on, and I recommend them all. I think they're all brilliant. I only have maybe 2 or 3 of them thus far, but looking to get them all over time. But and again, hard to find because most of the copies are in Europe. But all of these later recordings are all basically either solo or duo projects. This is no exception. This is a duo with a percussionist by the name of Jimmy uh, Johnson. Pretty sure he's a European player. I don't know him. Um, and so what this record is just 2 side-long pieces, and each one of them, it's one piece that spans the 2 sides, by the title of "I Hear You, John." And so, obviously when I see a title like that, and I knew that he was friends with Dolphy and Coltrane, back in New York. Obviously, there's no recordings of Dickerson with Coltrane. Unfortunately, that would have been an amazing collaboration. Maybe someday something will be unearthed. But as far as I know, they were, mostly just good friends, and they love to discuss music, theory, and just the possibilities of improvised music. So I'm pretty confident that this album is for him. Although reading that interview, the long form interview that I mentioned, and I'll leave a link to it. There were 2 great influences, 2 Johns that, as he mentions in the interview, John Coltrane and another John, whose name is escaping me at the moment. But a very little known player out of Philadelphia that also, I think they're basically the same age, and they both came up around the same time. That other John, he passed away very, very young. He was only like in his early 30s, but also someone that that Dickerson says was a great influence on him. All of that said, and like I said, I can't find any information on specifically about this album and this track, but I'm pretty confident that the John referenced here is John Coltrane. And so yeah, this has been playing in the background. I'm gonna let it play out. For a little bit anyway, and yeah, anyway, talk to you guys soon. Hope you enjoy it. So just you get a feel of how textural his playing is and how much space there is in his playing, and why the recordings that he did as duos, as duets, are really his best work, right? Because they allow him to really explore, different textures and. As opposed to the early stuff that he did, which is very much, I think, very constrained. I think by the quartet sort of post-bop architecture. And before I forget, the piano player that he cites as an influence is John Dennis. Like I said, mostly recorded a few things in the 1950s, also out of Philly. Passed away young, so. John Dennis is the other John in Walt's life. Anyway, check out everything Walt Dickerson, especially everything after 1975. It's fantastic. It takes a little bit of digging to find some of this stuff. They're not particularly expensive records. They're just mostly just things that mostly are in Europe because that's where they were pressed, and But anyway, an artist that really deserves more attention. So again, this is Walt Dickerson and Jimmy Johnson. I Hear You, John, from 1981 on Steeplechase. Take care, guys.